So this is our presentation of how genetics discovers an aggression and what the science reveals about it. So Dennis Rader isn't famous for the series of brutal murders from 1974 to 1991. He's conserving, thankfully, 10 consecutive life sentences. What you may think this monster happened to him could be poverty, an abusive authority figure, being bullied, media, and video games. These are first common thoughts you may think of someone becoming aggressive or how they became aggressive. The nature versus nurture theory has been around since the 1800s. And the nature theory of it is how genetics and genes came from their parents and transferred over to their child, which is Dennis Rader. So we think he had the nature part of it because the nurture part is having like guns, violence, alcoholism when you're a child and being around all that stuff, creating a hostile environment, making you more aggressive when you grow up. But Raider didn't really have this much violence around him, all this stuff. So we think nature is what got to him, and the genetic part is what made him aggressive. So nature's impacts on our genes, or we come to learn that DNA is actually a factor into aggression. And Raider is a prime example of that in how it became aggressive, straight from mostly, we would say, or I would say, from the nature part of it, not nurture, because he didn't, like I said, he didn't have really a bad childhood. And then here's our neurotransmitters that our brain's delivery system has: dopamine and serotonin. Dopamine, often referred to as the pleasure transmitter, neurotransmitter, is involved in our brain's reward system, causing pleasure, motivation, reward. Real dopamine is new experiences, sun and outdoors, exercise, good sleep. Cheap dopamine can be alcohol, watching movies, junk food, gambling, drugs, all that can be the cheap dopamine you don't want. And serotonin, also known as the happiness neurotransmitter, is crucial for sleep, appetite, digestion, and mood regulation. It also contributes to the feelings of well being and calmness. Serotonin helps balance other neurotransmitters, but both dopamine and serotonin are essential for mental and physical health. Imbalances in these both can be bad for, can be linked to a depression, anxiety, or even aggression. Serotonin and the TPH1 and TPH2 genes. Serotonin is a neurotransmitter, like I said, linked to mood and aggression. TPH1 is involved in the production of serotonin, while TPH2 is involved in the formation of serotonin. But studies indicate that differences in the DNA sequences of the TPH1 gene may be linked to aggression. But TPH2 plays a key role as the rate limiting step in the production of the serotonin with the central nervous system. I'm going to say this a lot, but having a too much production of serotonin or too less production of serotonin can be involved in aggression. TPH1 and 2 both are important for the serotonin formation. And like I said, any alter in these serotonin levels, lower or higher, can be linked to aggression. There is a trait variation within TPH1 and 2. This variation is the differences in those genes which can make individuals more susceptible to aggression for those who carry it. 5-HTT, a serotonin transporter. When serotonin is released between brain cells, the 5-HTT gene helps make sure any runaway serotonin gets recollected, put back in line, and gets sent where it needs to go. 5-HTTP or 5-HTT helps regulate how much serotonin gets recycled and reused in the brain. Variations in the 5-HTT gene can lead to lower levels of serotonin and the efficiency of serotonin being reabsorbed, which can lead to aggression again. Any imbalances in between serotonin and DAT1 dopamine can be lead to aggression. So DAT1 is a dopamine transporter. How it affects dopamine aggression, it's a regulator, or DAT1 is a regulator of dopamine in the brain. It is linked to ADHD, major depression, bipolar disorder. And DAT2 is a dopamine regulator, which DAT2 is a receptor, which is a molecule inside or on the surface of a cell. It binds to specific substances and causes a specific effect in the cell. DAT2 is responsible for the control of dopamine and how it's released. DAT2 can inhibit dopamine release. Remember, like I said, dopamine, like a shortage of dopamine, can be involved in mood swings and aggression. So COMT is a transmitter and how it affects dopamine and aggression. COMT is an enzyme that breaks down dopamine, helps maintain balanced dopamine levels, and prevent excessive stimulation. Dopamine plays an important role in the brain function and the body's stress response. Having too much of it can affect aggression. Having any imbalances in these dopamine and serotonin levels can cause aggression. MAOA, a dopamine and serotonin regulator, is an enzyme that plays a crucial role in regulating serotonin and dopamine. Like COMT, MAOA plays a crucial role in breaking down excess levels of dopamine. In addition to dopamine, MAOA also breaks down serotonin. So it breaks down both, not just one. This helps support proper brain function. Genetics variations of MAOA is MAOAH and MAOAL. The H1 is a high activity and the L1 is a low activity. But the high activity MAOA breaks down excessive dopamine and serotonin more efficiently, leading to lower levels of both neurotransmitters, causing lower impulsivity, reduced aggression, and better emotional regulation, causing a better and more happy individual, which is the high activity one. Low activity is basically almost opposite. Breaks down excessive dopamine and serotonin levels less efficiently, leading to higher levels of both neurotransmitters. So the levels of it is much higher and not balanced down a little bit lower, causing you to be more aggressive, which is also can be called the warrior gene because of potential connection to risk-taking behavior. So nature and nurture, unlike other genes, the effects of MOA variants aren't just genetics. Environmental factors can also shape the MOA related traits manifest. Childhood trauma, stress, and social influences can influence it. For examples, individuals with the low activity variant who experience childhood adversity may be more prone to aggressive behaviors, while those in supportive environments may not show the same effects. So this is the nurture part of it. Like a lot may know of how outside individuals, family, friends can affect of how someone's behavior may occur. So here's our summary. Dennis Rader and Jeffrey Dahmer both had a normal childhood until nature took its path. They both became aggressive, very aggressive and dangerous individuals, not because of what people around them did and created a violent atmosphere for them, but the genes from their parents that transmitted them to become this terrible individual. That's what got them there. The genes, the nature part of it, not the nurture. And yet again, too much or too little dopamine and serotonin can affect your aggression. TPH1 and 2 is the serotonin, the transmitters, all that. And then the DAT1 and 2 is the dopamine and the transmitters and the formation of the enzymes and all that. So DAT1 and 2 is dopamine, TPH1, 2 is serotonin. And then this COMT breaks down dopamine and balances dopamine levels. MAOAL breaks down serotonin and dopamine less efficiently, creating the warrior gene, making you more angry and aggressive. MAOAH breaks down serotonin and dopamine levels more efficiently, creating you a more calm and chilled individual. Here's our questions. Blank theory is a psychological discussion that explores the balances of influence of genetics and environmental factors. A, B, C, or D. And then number 2 is serotonin and dopamine that are important for our brain's regulation of A, B, C, or D. Number 3 is aggression is often attributed solely to blank, but we should also consider the influence of blank. Number 1 is D, nature/nurture theory. is what we've been talking about. Number two is C. Serotonin and dopamine is important for regulating the mood, and aggression is often, and number three, aggression is often attributed to solely to B. Nurture. We think everyone around us contributes to that, but we also should consider the nature part of how their parents' genes actually contribute to our aggression. So that's our slideshow, how genetics actually contribute to aggression. Thank you.